What are your thoughts this year to the young quarterback, and what has really changed for this organization going into the offseason?
It all started with the hiring of DeMeco Ryans. His strong faith, you pair that with CJ Stroud's strong faith, the way they've really just kind of the way they live life and who they are as human beings has really helped this culture. DeMeco Ryans' passion for the game, his energy, his positivity, like it was just very different. And then Nick Caserio, the general manager, having the Huevos to trade up from somewhere in the teens up to number 3 to get Will Anderson. And then whether or not CJ Stroud was top of their board, who knows? Most people did have Bryce Young. It's a conversation for a different day about the situation in Carolina. But the whole demeanor changed with the hiring of DeMeco Ryans and the drafting of CJ Stroud. And I say this all the time, like every team, generally speaking, is a head coach and a quarterback away from figuring it out. Because if you don't have those, then forget about it. You're never going to be any good. And you're always trying to scheme around it. You're always trying to figure things out around not having the two most important parts of your team. And it's not about the coaching of the X's and O's as much as it is really about the culture. Those guys have the buy-in to what you're selling. So I think that's the biggest answer.
So you covering CJ Stroud in Houston, like what is he like from a leadership perspective on and off the field with this team culture and with these players too? Because they had a lot of injuries at the end of the season with their offense.
Beloved from day one. So before he even got in the building, right after the draft, he grabbed veterans, he grabbed rookies, all the dudes that were tight ends and wide receivers. He bought their plane tickets, flew them out to Scottsdale, got them a mansion, told Nico Collins, like, dude, you're a star. Like, you have the ability to be a star. And this dude had not had success in the NFL coming out of Michigan. 2 years, he was under 500 yards. He's now over 1,200 yards this season. Like, that's an unbelievable turnaround. Brevin Jordan, kid out of Florida, didn't have great success last year. Thought he was going to get cut this year, he told me. Now he had that 75-yard touchdown in the playoff game. Like, he makes people around him better. He is absolutely beloved. He holds chapel on Saturdays. I say he kind of led that. And a lot of guys, coaches and players go, these guys love each other. So when you know the why of the dude next to you and you want to fight for that dude next to you, you're going to go the next step on the game and sacrifice just a little bit more because you know the dude next to you needs you to be your best in that moment. When you're in a situation where you just don't give a damn, you're going to mail it in and just get your check, go home and be good. But when you see something special building, like all that stuff that doesn't show up in analytics and all that stuff that doesn't show up in the box score, that stuff is so real. And this team has the talent and they have the buy-in and the care for each other.
Going into this game against Cleveland, there was a lot of questions. The Cleveland Browns have been here before. They have a great defense, probably the best defense in football. They bring in Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco has had a sensational time. What were your thoughts going into the game? What were their thoughts going into the game? Did they have the belief that they were going to knock off one of the better defenses in the league?
Like the confidence in that locker room, it's confident, not cocky. Like truly, none of them say dumb things. None of them talk out of pocket. They all say the right things, but there's a whole bunch of confidence. When you have number 7, when you have a quarterback, the game's so different because, you know, every time you touch the ball, you're one play away. And that's exactly what we saw from the offense against the number 1 defense in the NFL. Not like top 5 in this metric. The number 1 defense overall, they picked apart and it looked easy as well. So I think they knew that they were going to win. I thought they had the chance to win because I thought the defense for the Texans was healthy. So they were going to be able to slow the Browns down. And then it kind of got into that back and forth to start. And you're thinking, man, this is going to be a tough one, but you got the guns to do it offensively. Now can the defense make some plays? And then they gave up those 14 points and then that was it. Like the second half for the Texans defense was pick six, turnover on downs, game over. Like, it was a wrap, and they made them look bad. And the reason that this public has that perception of the Texans is because they didn't study anything about the Texans. They don't know anything about the Texans. The Texans aren't the Green Bay Packers. They're not the Dallas Cowboys. They aren't getting all this shine like the Browns were coming into the season. So the national media will look at 10 teams. And these are the 10 teams that are going to compete for the playoffs, and maybe 5 of them will have a chance to win the Super Bowl. And if they're not one of those teams, they don't really know anything about it because by the time that they're in the playoff hunt, they're like in the hunt on the graphic, right? And that's what the Texans were. Well, they got healthy at the right time. They became good at the right time. They got all the confidence at the right time. Now, the national media is playing catch up. I always used to say this when I covered Cam. Cam Newton was the ultimate professional. He was the ultimate teammate. He was absolutely beloved. But the national media didn't cover the Panthers. They didn't care about Carolina because Charlotte's a small town. It's a small market. So every time they talked about Cam, it was about the towel over his head or him not diving on the football, whatever small, minute thing that they found, they drew this whole picture to be Cam Newton when it wasn't reality. So now we had a reporter in the Texans press conference. The question was, what did you know about Will Anderson before the draft, and what have you got to know about him? We're in the divisional round of the playoffs. That story's been done 100 times. So now all these people that don't know about the team come in here and start asking these dumbass questions that have been asked 100 times, and it's old news. We know Will Anderson's story at this point if you follow the team. It's like going to the Chicago for the first time as a journalist, like, oh, did you guys hear about the taste of Chicago? Like, bro, that story's been done. It's just new to you. The Texans are new to you. We're way past all that, and they're a good team, so it's time to jump on board or don't be here, man, doing these puff pieces.